Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool pinball repair video for you this evening. This is a Bally Safari pinball machine that we've done a couple videos on already. I'm going to show you in this video a neat little feature that it has that Bally did for a while. One of the problems you have when you're working on these old EMs is that a lot of the mechanics, the mechanisms are down in the bottom of the cabinet there. And so you have to lean over to get into the cabinet. Now for me, I'm 6'1". It's not that big of a deal for me. I've had a lot of people complain that they don't like leaning over working on the mechs in the bottom of the cabinet. It doesn't bother me that much, but Bally came up with a solution for that they did for just a little while, and then they stopped doing it that way. Some of the companies, that mech board that's in the bottom, they made it where you could remove it, but you have to remove all kinds of crap to get to it, and then you can take it out of the machine and set it on the top and work on it. Bally came up with a much quicker way of doing it, where you can leave most of it plugged in and actually play the game with it like that, out with the mech out of the machine. So I'm going to show you how they did it. I never even heard of it until we got this machine, and it has paperwork in it that kind of shows you how it works. Joey was just telling me that we had a Bally Dixieland pinball a long time ago that also was this same setup. This particular era of Bally's, they had a frame that went on the top that the glass slides in. So the side rails come off because they're part of that frame. So you can either tilt that frame up and tilt the playfield up under it to get to the mech board, or if you can just remove the whole frame like we've done, tilt the playfield up, and we can get to the mech board. So I'm going to show you the paperwork that came with it, and then we'll actually do it to this machine because I need to work through and clean all of the electronics in it. Now we've already been playing the thing. It's pretty much working. We did a little bit of repair work to it already, but we like to do preventative maintenance where we go through and look at every little switch just to make sure everything's all right before we sell it. We also have a lot of cosmetic stuff we have to do that we're going to do on the next video. So let me show you that paperwork that came with it and this neat little idea that they came up with, and you can tell me what you think. All right, so it still had the paperwork pack in it, including the old school warranty guarantee. They gave you 6 months on those motors, people. The ones in it are still working, and it's been almost 60 years. So, I mean, when they last 100 times longer than they told you it would, that's pretty cool. So this, I guess if it was right side up, we could read it. This was included in it. Now, at the time, Bally was doing some really creative stuff. Not necessarily all of it was a good idea, but, you know, this kind of looks like a good idea. They were just trying to come up with new stuff. And some people have mentioned that maybe the designer of this machine was responsible for this. I don't know that this originated with this. This was the first machine that this was in. It was probably in some of the other ones. But that glass frame on the top was pretty creative. They also had created the type of back glass that has a channel that you lift it out with. I'm not positive that Bally came up with that, but I don't think Williams, or I know Gottlieb wasn't doing it yet, and I don't think Williams was doing it yet. But they were coming up with some really creative stuff. So there was a designer at Bally at the time named Ted Zell, which is the guy that designed this machine. However, I don't know that he ever had anything to do with engineering stuff. You know, he just kind of designed the layouts of the machines. That's my understanding. But the guy's kind of mysterious. We don't really know a whole lot about the dude. He made a bunch of games that are really cool. And he's credited with making the zipper flippers, which are the flippers that move on the machine. But again, I don't know that he was an engineer and that he actually came up with how they worked. He may have just came up with the idea. So he may have came up with this idea, and he may have came up with the idea for the glass frame, but I don't know how much he would have been involved in actually figuring out how to make it work. So it's not a big deal, but it's just an interestingly different way to do it. And we're going to do it here in a minute so you can see how it works. So it says, new lift-out mounting board. Remove the front molding assembly and cash box. So front molding assembly is usually called the lockdown bar. And cash box. Raise the playfield panel to its high position. So they're telling you, take off the glass, take the cash box out, and then raise up the playfield. Okay. Remove 4 bolts and washers and 2 screws that secure the mounting board to the cabinet. So the 4 bolts are on the edges. We'll show those. And then apparently there's two screws right there in the front. With power to game off, disconnect the 2 plugs at the left front corner of the mounting board. Now, down here. Now, those appear to be the tilt and maybe it's the coin door. Something plugs in up there at the front left. Slide mounting board forward about 1 inch. So the board's laying at the bottom. You slide it a little bit. Then slowly pull board forward and up, watching rear of board for clearance of playfield panel. So you're basically going to rotate it on this bar up and out, and you want to watch the back to make sure that the transformer, which I think is in the back, doesn't hit the bottom of the playfield when you do that. Insert support block attached to underside of mounting board into the recessed area of the front molding lock plate to secure the board. So there is a board underneath the panel. When you lift it up, you want that board to land where the lockdown bar goes. Reconnect only the front door plug. So that's the one down at the bottom, I guess, that we took loose. And then turn power to game on. So you're going to leave the tilt unplugged. Game can now be operated for servicing with easy access to all game components on raised mounting board. So that's the main difference. I don't believe that you can actually operate the other games that you can remove the bottom panel from. Technically, you can remove the bottom panel from any game, but they didn't really design them where it's easy to do that. They're attempting to make it where it's really simple to pull that off. When returning mounting board to cabinet, always turn power to game off first, then disconnect the front door plug and slowly lower the board back into the cabinet. Reconnect the 2 mounting board plugs on the front left, then turn the power on, and game is again ready for regular operation. Note, when game is installed on location, the 4 mounting board bolts and washers can be removed permanently. The 2 screws are sufficient to prevent any movement of board while the game is in operation. I believe ours still has the 4 bolts and the 2 screws. So that's the little gimmick that they came up with. Let's go see how it looks in our machine. So here's the glass frame. We've already removed it. And as you can see, it's just a lockdown bar, or front molding cover, I believe they call it. But the side rails are all attached to it. It's one big frame that comes off. And you unlock it with the handle inside the coin door. And then you just pull it up like a regular lockdown bar, but the whole glass comes up with it. And it's just laying on there because it hooks in the back. See the little clip thing there? So because it's made like that, you can't remove it if the front's locked. But once you pull it up, you can slide the whole thing out. So that's what it hooks under. And once it's slid in there, there's nothing you can do because the front is held in place by the latches, which is traditional for pinball machines. Now, it's worth mentioning, too, this is 1968, and before this, they were done the way that they're done now, really. So this is a Williams Grand Prix. It's got a removable lock bar and a glass that slides in side rails that stay on the machine. The games were like that before this one. They did this for a while with the frame, and then they went back to this. So it ultimately, for whatever reason, it didn't end up being the greatest idea, I guess. Or maybe it's just too expensive. So here's the lever that unlocks the front molding bar. Right? So it said to remove that, which we have, and then it said to lift up the playfield to its highest position. So what they mean by that is there's actually 2 positions you can put it at. See the little divot there? If you put that little support bar there, this will be down a little lower. So you can mess with the flippers a little better, I guess. So you can see that panel goes way back underneath the playfield. And you can see the 4 bolts they're talking about. There's one on each side that kind of just pinches the board. I've seen them like that in other Ballys. I think it's Bally's. And sometimes they'll have it where it's just in the middle, and the bolt is through a nut on the support board and just holds the whole thing in. So the 2 screws that they were talking about, I believe it was showing us was up here. Yeah, it was on this front board. So that's one of them. And maybe, well, I see one screw. Oh yeah, there's another one under the, oh good Lord. Someone has complicated it for us by putting a new fuse holder in right next to the screw that we're supposed to take out. So let me work around that a little bit. If I can break those off, I can just put it right where it originally was. Yeah, let me see if I can move that around. All right, that worked perfect. So I took the old screw out. I broke the tabs off the original fuse holder. And then I just moved the new fuse holder right on top of the old fuse holder. Put the same screw back in that they had used. And now we can get to the screw we need to get to. So I'm going to go ahead and remove both of those screws. And I'm going to remove the 4 washers and nuts on the side here. Okay, so I removed the 2 screws and I removed the 3 bolts. It doesn't look like there's one back there. I've got it unplugged. So we remove these 2 Jones plugs. One appears to be for the front door and one is for the tilt. And then it said to pull it forward about 1 inch. So I wonder if I got to do that one too. Alright. Maybe I should pull it forward till it stops. I don't know where that block is. Oh yeah, it's farther back. That's pretty cool. So they have simply just put a metal rod, and when you slide it, whenever you start picking it up, it eventually just catches in place and holds up the back of the mech board. You can see the little latches there too, where the rod, once you push it back down, when you push the board back, that rod is going to catch in those to kind of hold it in place. Huh, very creative. Yeah, and this one only had 3 bolts in it. I don't know if they removed the other one at some point or if they just never installed it at the factory because of the way there was a bunch of stuff in the way back there. If you look, it doesn't look like there was ever one installed. On this side, you can see the dust and everything where the washer was. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean out the bottom of the cabinet. Get all that stuff out of the back there. If I can get to it, I think I can. And get that all vacuumed out. And then we'll start messing with the... Oh, look, this did come loose. So yeah, on this particular one, you need to disconnect the... what is that, the knocker? The knocker. Cool. All right, I'm going to clean it up a little bit. I was going to say wait till I get my watch off, but the pin broke. Luckily, I don't have my watch on. All right, so the coin door, they have it where the wire is just under a little hook there that'll slide out of, so you don't have to take the screw out or anything. And I plugged it back in, like they said. It's on there nice and sturdy. This thing acts as a handle, as you just saw. That would certainly make it a lot easier to work on any of this stuff. I mean, it's right there. Look how much easier it is to get the score motor now. So very cool. All right, so I'm going to clean through some of these and just make sure everything looks like it's clean and adjusted. And then we'll try turning it on with it like this and just watching it. We won't be able to, hit the ball around because the playfield's elevated, but you could certainly test switches and just test how all the mechs are working and everything. I'm surprised that they stopped doing that. That's a pretty cool little idea. Interesting. So I figured I'd show you a couple little things. This is the alternator unit, which I don't know if that's for, that may be the, like for the coin or something. The coin, whenever, how many coins it accepts. But check this thing. It's like a score reel, but when it pulls in, all it does is move this one little cam, well, this one little whatever you want to call it, and it either closes or opens that switch. So each time it pulses, it closes and opens the switch. So that whole mech, just for that. And then if you look up here, it's kind of interesting that there's nothing really in this area. And then if you look, there's a plug here that can be removed. That's probably for the add-a-ball unit that we talked about in the previous video, to make this an add-a-ball machine where you win free balls instead of free games. You can win more than one free ball. So let's say you had 3 balls, you can win another one, 4, 5, 6. You could actually build up the count of the balls. Well, anyway, they use a special relay for that, or a special unit for that, that probably mounted right here. If you look, there's 2 screw holes, and it probably plugged into that. That would be my guess. So yeah, I cleaned all the switches. I need to clean the Jones plugs still so that they make good contact. And then we've got these 2 stepper units here. If you look, they say trail unit and tiger unit. That's a feature on the playfield where you spell trail or tiger, and then whenever you do, it gives you a super score. So that goes up to 1 instead of 0, and it's a special yellow score reel. It's just kind of a strange play feature where you get an extra score, and then that super score can win you a game, and it's just, you know, another way of making it where you can win a free game. So those are actually working fine, but I'll clean them up, and we'll go from there. You can see how Bally at the time was using the exposed coils. They're coated, so they're not going to short out or anything, but they don't have a paper wrapper around them. They're actually moving pretty good. So yeah, but that makes it so much easier just having it up here where you can get to it. I like the idea that they're running with there. All right, so I cleaned up both of the stepper units. I cleaned up the Jones plugs, and that's it on the bottom panel. Look how cool these are. It would be neat to go into detail about how these work, but I'm trying not to make a ton of videos here. As this steps up, see how there are 5 fingers here? That's the first light on that little unit. So if you look, it's T-R-A-I-L, right? So we just moved up, and now that light is going to be lit. That wire is going to be grounded, right? And then as you go, now 2 of them are, now 3 of them are, now 4 of them are. And then there's some kind of setup where, let's see what it says. It says when trail is lit, super score advances. Right, so when it gets all the way up, the super score advances. So what makes the super score advance must be these 2 little wires. So when it gets to the last one where all 5 of them are lit, those are connected, and that must be whatever gives you the super score moving up one. There's also something here that you move to at the 4th position. So I don't know what that would be. Oh hell, I'm gonna look it up. So I'm gonna look it up real quick. I don't want to make the video too long though. And then we're gonna turn this on and see if we can get the game to start and just see some stuff clacking around as the game is running. Okay, so that 4th position one that is connected on the 4th position is actually what makes the score unit move up. So the ground will be connected through here at the 4th position, and when the tiger step-up arm, so when the thing pulls in, it connects a switch that, depending on where the alternator relay is, that little thing we just looked at, makes 1 or 2. The number 1 super score unit or the number 2 super score unit score. So I got to see what the other ones are that I thought was that. All right, so those, the two that connect on the 5th position, that's what, as the score motor turns, that's what makes the unit reset. Oh no, actually I'm wrong. When the tiger is all the way up and the trail is all the way up, it connects, and that's what makes both of them reset. So there must be yet another one. It looks like it has something to do with scoring some points. The center yellow rollover and the center red rollover, depending on where the disc is, makes different points happen. Okay, so yeah, that's how that works. Let's turn it on. So I have it plugged in. If I hit the left button, it should turn all the lights on. It did not. Why would that be? That one's unplugged. Is the flipper switch unplugged? Yeah, maybe we can't do it because that's unplugged. It said to just plug in the coin door. But that will fit, I think. Let me plug it in as well. That one will not touch, so we can't do that. So the left flipper button, maybe I don't know. We'll just try hitting start and see if it does it. Okay, yeah. All right, so flippers don't work because they're unplugged. They go here. Interesting. But you wouldn't need the flippers to work because you can't possibly do that. All right, so yeah, so it's gonna basically do its thing. Let's see if we can get these to move. Oh, we already did. Okay, so 5th position. You hear the coil that's on? Now when we get the other one to a certain position, they should both reset. Cool. Alright, yeah, so I could see where that would be real useful for debugging if you had something. Cool idea. Yeah, I wish they were all like that, where you could make it a lot easier to service. All right, so now that I basically went through all of it, I'm going to slide it back down to there where it goes, and we're going to work on the bottom of the playfield. All right, I was showing on the first video how these pop bumpers, look how minimal they are. They're just little thin brackets. They're not even as wide as the wafers that they use. And look how they have 2 switches on the pops. That is cool. I have never seen that. Bally was doing some just different stuff at this point. Wow. Okay, so you know, usually they come in and it close. Usually when it goes down, it opens a switch which turns off a relay. And they do have a relay. There's a left thumper bumper, right thumper bumper, and top thumper bumper. But I don't know why they have an extra switch. One of them is going to kill power to the coil, which is how it usually is. Well, I'm going to have to look that up too. I just want to see why there's 2 switches on each thumper bumper. Well, this is pretty crazy. So the thumper bumpers had 3 wires going to them, as you can see. Or as you saw, they have an end of stroke switch that opens when it comes all the way down, like we just saw. That works just like the flippers do, where it halves the winding, or not halves, but it gets rid of one of the windings of the thumper bumper solenoid, so that it can hold. It could hold on without burning it up. So each one has an end of stroke switch on it for that, where it's basically opening up like it does on a flipper. And then the other one is more how it traditionally works. When the thumper bumper pulls in, it turns on the relay for that thumper bumper, which holds itself on until a switch opens on the thumper bumper. So they have one that kills half of or part of the solenoid strength, so it won't burn up, I guess. You know, on a flipper, it does that so that you can hold the button in to cradle the ball or whatever, right? But they've done it on the thumper bumpers as well. And then the other one works the way it traditionally works, where it kills the relay. Fascinating. All right, so here's Bally's flipper design from this era. Now remember, these are the little 2-inch stunners. They're not super strong like a 3-inch, but in my opinion, they're about the strongest 2-inch flippers that they made. They're linear. Bally later made another linear flipper design that people don't like and they talk bad about, but I've always thought they were great. They take the pivot out of the link. So the other companies would have a little fiber link and then a plunger. But this is the plunger itself is the link. So the plunger just attaches directly to the pawl, they call this. And so when it pulls in, it just pulls straight. It's very efficient. And there's nothing to wear, really, except for the switch can wear, and then where the plunger hits the stop. The coil stop back here can wear. But you don't have to worry about the flipper link wearing. And in general, they're pretty strong. And if you look, there's not, I wonder if this is see how the little track is round there? I wonder if those plates are actually used in the zipper flipper assemblies too. I don't know why they would have that semicircular cutout in there. But usually they work really good. So we'll see how these do. I think we already messed with it a little bit and they seem pretty strong to me. I went through and cleaned all the switches. The only relays are these 3 pop bumper relays. And then the gate assembly. Just look how efficient they did all this stuff. The gate assembly uses the same plate as the flippers. But really the only difference is they have a bigger switch stack and they're using a different coil. But everything's cool. Now these, I wonder if these coils have been replaced at some point. These may have been replaced. I don't know. These are, I think they call these parallel wound, and these are called, maybe these are parallel wound and these are series wound. I don't remember. But this is just a slightly different version of this coil. See how it has the 2 different windings? Same here. But these surely are original, and we know that they were that there's 2 windings in these too because of the 3 lugs and because we saw it on the schematics. So I don't know, but they were doing both types of setups. So there's not a ton to service here. I cleaned the switches. I'm going to go through now and replace all the bulbs just because that's something that we do. They seem to all be working under the playfield, but we'll replace them with new ones anyways. People talk about putting LEDs in them. And we were talking about that on one of the earlier videos, or a video last week. And I was talking about how there's good reasons and bad reasons to do it. And someone brought up, of course, that they use less energy and they put off less heat. What I do about that is these originally would have 44 bulbs in them, bulb number 44. And so I'd replace them with a bulb number 47. It's a very common thing people do where a 47 uses 40% less energy than a 44. So you combat that a little bit by doing that. So we do a little bit of that. So I'm going to go ahead and swap all those with 47 bulbs. And then that's kind of all that needs done under the playfield, unless something's broken, needs serviced, or the flippers aren't strong and need the plungers replaced or something. But you could get a thing too where they hum a lot if you hold the flipper button down, which would be a sign that the coil stops and the flipper plungers are deformed, and new ones would get it to stop doing that. But if you don't mind a little hum, you don't even have to do that. So there's not a ton to do under here, but I'll do the light bulbs, and then we'll be ready to work in the back box. So in the back here, in the previous video, we actually worked on this player up unit, got it ready already. All we have left is the match unit, the credit wheel, 10 score reels, including the super score reels, which are a little different, and 6 relays here. We also have to clean the Jones plugs. But there's just not a ton to this. Oh, one other thing. This bell hasn't worked right the entire time we've been screwing around with it. And if you look, you can see what the problem is. The plunger is stuck in there. If you mess with it, it'll fall back out. Right? So that plunger is getting stuck in there. So the way to fix it, it may be magnetized, I don't know, but the way to fix it is to take it apart and clean the thing. And I don't know if we can get that brass sleeve out of there. You're better off with a nylon one, but I'm not going to take it out if it's going to destroy the coil. But we got to do something about that. But there's just not a ton of stuff here to work on that we haven't. Well, there just isn't. There was a lot of really cool little labels back here. Serviceman, to remove Bally easy out back glass, which is what they were calling their new way of doing the back glass. Pull back on the 2 brackets at the top of the light box, then from the front of the game, lift the glass up and out. So these slide over the top of the glass. This is how all of the modern back glasses ended up working. So there's a heck of a little creation there. High score adjustments. It says C chart on inside of back door. And it appears that these are what you do that with. They're not actually connected to anything. The way they do theirs, they just do it with jumpers. So instead of, usually you have different wires that you put in certain places. But on this one, you just use these jumpers to jumper a bunch of them together, I guess. So we'll figure that out. So I'm going to start by cleaning these relays. It's just the score relays, the point relays, and the reset relays, and then the player up alternator relay, which just makes it player 1, player 2. And it's basically connecting things this way or that way, depending on which player's up. So I'm going to clean those, and then we'll mess with the score reels a little bit. All right. Now, I always tell you folks, I almost said you guys, but I know there are lots of women watching too. I always tell you folks that if I find a switch that's out of adjustment, I will stop and show you. And I found one. So here is the 10-point relay. That back middle switch is adjusted way out. I don't know how that would have even happened, or if they maybe did it on purpose. Let's see if I can. So you can see it move. Okay, see the front set here in the middle. And if you look, there's another one on the very back. It ain't even close. Look at that. It's like, that's damn near 5 inches. No. So it's probably, I mean, it's like almost a 1/4 inch open or something like that. For all you millimeter people out there. I don't know what to tell you. So yeah, I'm just going to bend that back closer to where it'll touch. But what I want to do, because this is the interesting part to me, is what's that switch do? Like, what wasn't working? So I'm gonna look at the color of the wires that are connected to that switch, and then find it on the schematics and figure out, since that was so open, what wasn't working. Would they have done that on purpose for some reason? And then what's going to work now that we've fixed it? All right, the mystery deepens. I dug around in there, and there is a white and red wire that was attached to that switch that they moved, and it's no longer attached, like they cut it. Very interesting. All right, so it's this one right here. Like there's the 1-point relay and the 10-point relay have a switch on them that steps up the match unit. So I don't know why in the world they would have took that off, but it seems like they did on purpose. I don't know. Maybe it just broke, and I think it's on purpose. But it was bent out of the way, and the wire removed. We're going to put it back. So one problem we had was that the bell was sticking, and this steel or this brass sleeve on this particular one can't be removed. I just have to replace the coil. So what I did was I took a file, and the reason that the thing was getting stuck, basically the problem was that the plunger was getting stuck inside of here. And the reason for that is because the top of it was all burred up. So I took a file, filed that all back, made it nice and smooth where it should work smoothly now. And we'll test it out just to make sure. But if that doesn't fix it, we'll have to order a new coil. But I think it'll be fine. All right, so let's test it out. I put it back together after messing with the plunger a little bit. Let's see if the bell will now work properly. It didn't kick the ball out because I don't have the ball in there. Let's see what we get. So we've got it set on 10 and on 100. All right, so that's it. That's all that it has in the game. That's all that makes a noise. I don't even know how to score 1 point on this particular one. I don't even know if there is a. There we go. Oh, that's on the. It's a clapper, isn't it? Yep. Okay, so that's on the 0 to 9 unit. So when we score 1 point, I'm just pulling in the point relay. We get that one. If we score 10 points, see it falling. Now we also, when we did the 10 points, when we fixed that wire, it made this happen. So, and then 100 points. It's just not as loud because it's not throwing as far. But that wire that was broken, that it looked like they had removed, I don't know. Essentially what it's doing is it's also turning this 0 to 9 unit. And since that is what makes the bell hit, since we have this set on 10 and 100, when you get 1 point, you get the match unit moves, and you get that bell. When you get 10 points, the match unit also moves, and you get that bell because we fixed that wire, and you get that one at the same time. So it's actually 2 bells at the same time. And then when you get 100 points, you only get that bell. Okay. So just an interesting way that they designed it. Cool. Okay, folks, so we are about done with all of the electronics. I'm going to quit it here. If you want to see another cool Ted Zell game where you had just interesting design like this for Bally, check out this video. We'll see you back here next time, though, whenever we'll finally get the cosmetic stuff done on this one, and we'll test play it a little bit. See you then.